Welcome back to another episode of Hope for Your Life, where we believe there's always hope, no matter what situation you are going through. We've been talking about how to resolve guilt. And in the last episode, we differentiated between legitimate or natural guilt and illegitimate or toxic guilt. And I encourage you to go back to that episode and refresh yourself on those forms of illegitimate guilt that we need to take off of our mental plate altogether. It's just unnecessary stress, right? But what about legitimate guilt? How do we deal with legitimate guilt? Remember, legitimate or natural guilt is that feeling of discomfort that we naturally feel when we are in conflict with our core values. That's that alarm that goes off to say, wait a minute, you're going in a different direction than you really want to go, right? And you're threatening your well-being and the well-being of others, right? That's a legitimate feeling of concern that goes off that we need to respond to, right? So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with legitimate guilt and resolve it so that we're not carrying that weight on us mentally, right? All right, three things, three suggestions, three questions that we should ask ourselves to resolve that legitimate guilt. The first is, can I change course? Can I change course? If your guilt is the result of something that you are about to do, that you're thinking about doing, or something you keep going back to, like a habit, can I change course? Now, the answer initially needs to be a yes or no answer. Don't think about how complicated or difficult it is to change course. Try to put that off and just answer the question, yes or no, right? Can I end or stop or turn away from the thing that I've intended to do or am in the process of doing that is legitimately causing me guilt, right? Yes or no. If the answer is yes, then obviously we need to make every effort to change course. We need to make every effort we can to stop or to turn around and to go in a different direction, right? Now let me give you some motivation for that. I mean, just think about the peace that comes, or just the freedom that comes with having a clear conscience, right? The inner peace you get with being in alignment with your own values, right? Nothing, that's priceless. To be able to live that life of being free and clear in your mind, in your conscience, and not looking over your shoulder, but being able to say, hey, I'm at peace with myself because I am in sync with my inner values and my inner self, right? Nothing is worth that, right? So nothing's worth giving that up, right? So just think about that as you're moving through life. And sometimes, again, we need help with making these kind of decisions or help with managing our decisions. So if you feel like, for that habit that's just really dug in, like you need some outside intervention, you need some therapy, by all means, we're big believers in therapy. Make sure you get with a trusted professional who can help you work through those things and even identify why you keep going back to those things, that can help you on the road to turning away and changing course from those things that cause legitimate guilt. All right, here's the second question. Can I make amends? Can I make amends? If the deed is done already, can I correct it or compensate for it? And again, the answer here needs to be yes or no. Don't think about the difficulty of it or how challenging it's going to be. We already know that apologizing is difficult, right? Let's just put that on the table, especially if it's someone who's hurt or who's angry, who's upset because of something we've done, or there's a financial obligation that we've been sitting on that we now need to pay. That can be a financial hardship or a challenge. We know that it can be difficult to make amends. But right now, the answer is yes or no, right? And I guarantee you, most often the burden of carrying that guilt is more costly than the hardship of making amends for something we've done to hurt someone. Because remember, the purpose of legitimate guilt is to help us live in harmony with ourselves, right? And as I said earlier, nothing can buy that. That's priceless. To be able to live in harmony with yourself and know that you are in sync with what you do and how you live and your inner self, right? So make sure that you use that to motivate you, right? To make those amends if it's possible to do so. All right. What if I can't make amends? That's the third question. What if I can't correct it, compensate it? There's just no way that I can go back and address it. You know, I had been meaning to talk to that person I've been estranged from or who I haven't seen or talked to for some time. I've been meaning to get something off my chest with them or just tell them I love them or just have a conversation with them, and that opportunity is gone. I found out that they're no longer here. They've passed on. You know, you can't correct that, right? You can't compensate for that. Or maybe a child whose life you haven't been in, you know, for years. You just haven't been in their life. And now they want nothing to do with you. They don't want to see you. They don't want to talk to you. It's like you don't exist. You know, you can't get that time back. You can't get the graduations back. You can't get the birthdays back. You can't make that up or correct that, right? So what do you do in that situation? Well, you can't make direct amends, but you can make indirect amends. Indirect amends is when you take all those things that you wish you could have done, right? You wish you could have done to make amends, and you do them for someone else, okay? You know, so for that loved one who passed on and you didn't get the chance to tell them you love them. You didn't get the chance to say, hey, can I talk to you? Let's just talk. Let's just get together more often. Can you do that for someone else in your life? There are other family members or maybe other loved ones who are still here with you. You can make indirect amends by saying, you know what, I'm going to determine to make sure that I don't make this same mistake with other people in my life. I'm going to be there for that person. I'm going to communicate with this person who I haven't talked with in some time. I'm going to say I love you to that loved one who I haven't talked to in some time. Or maybe that child who has grown up now and you haven't been able to have a relationship in their life when they were a child, but now they're adult, and maybe it's a new relationship that you can establish with that child. But if you can't, then maybe there's some other person, young person, that you can invest time in and that you can be a father or mother figure to that is still here, that's with you, that is willing to have that kind of relationship. So again, you may not be able to make direct amends, but you can make indirect amends, and that can alleviate a lot of that natural or legitimate guilt as you are pouring in your efforts and your energy and your love into someone else. All right. And then there's something you can do also. Maybe this is time to lean on your faith. You know, in my faith tradition, the God that I pray to is a very forgiving God. There's a text in the Bible, 1 John 1 and verse 9 is the citation of that. And it's a quote from God. It says, if you confess your sins or your faults, God is faithful and just to forgive and to cleanse you of all unrighteousness. That brings great comfort to me. To know that when I'm feeling that natural guilt and I've tried to make amends and I've tried to correct it, in the end, God forgives me. And then ultimately, I have to forgive myself. You have to forgive yourself. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all have shortcomings and faults. And ultimately, we've got to be able to say, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Once I've made efforts to make those amends, once I've made efforts to correct or compensate or change course, in the end, I've got to say, I'm a human being, I make mistakes, and I can forgive myself too. All right, We'll be back for another episode. We want you to reflect on the things that we talked about today. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Click that notification bell so that you can be alerted to the next episode that's coming. And please, we want to hear from you. Maybe there's a topic that you want us to discuss. Go to our website, hopeforyourlife.com, and you can submit your suggestions right there on our site. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.